Sorry, that pen was bugging me. I had to switch it up. Now you've got pink. Anyway, we're looking at a triangle that has a 30-degree interior angle. And so when we're talking about all these sine, cos, and tan, all we really want to do is deal with the reference angle, not all the rest of this stuff. So we're going to make a little triangle here. Dun, 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 dun. And I kind of want to remind you about something that we learned back in grade 11, where, and I'm just going to draw it here and then I'll erase it. We had a triangle, guess I'll make it a little shorter because I got crazy, where it was 30, 60, 90, and we said that if this was 1, then the short side was actually a half, and this side was root 3 over 2. And the reason why that was we did an activity where we actually made this 2, and this was 1, so then we went root 3, then we cut everything in half to make it a 1. I don't know if you remember that or not, but we worked through it. So if you want me to detail how to work through that, feel free to message me, let me know. But what we want to recognize is that when we have a 30-degree triangle, then the y is a half, which means sine of 30 degrees is a half. So what they're going to do here is, they've already said that this side is 1. It's on their diagram, so I'll just put a 1 there. But it's a unit circle, so it's typically 1. This one is going to be a half by definition of the exploration that we did before. Now, this one, this side will be root 3 over 2. Now I'm going to get rid of this one because it's not going to be very helpful for us and I need the space. But now that we have a y value and an x value, we know the angle and we know that our hypotenuse is 1. Now we can just plug in all of those values and get what sine, cos, tan, cosecant, secant, cotan are, because that's all we really need. We need the coordinates so that we can just plug them into those equations. All right, getting started with sine. Sine of, well, we can actually even specify that this is sine of 30 degrees that we're doing, equals y over r. Y is 1/2 over r is 1, so it's just 1/2. We don't have to write 1/2 over 1. It's redundant. Then we move on to cosine, and it's still 30 degrees. So cosine of 30 degrees is root 3 over 2 over 1, because it's adjacent over hypotenuse, or x over r. We just have to write down root 3 over 2. So again, if it's on the unit circle and h is 1, we don't really worry about that. We just go, oh, x is cosine, sine is y, and that's all we have to worry about. We just get the coordinates. Tan is going to be a little bit more difficult because tan is y, 1/2, over, but I suggest that you write it out as divided by to keep it organized, root 3 over 2. So 1/2 divided by root 3 over 2, there's 2 ways you can do it. If you remember that you can simply divide these and it becomes 1 divided by root 3 because they're the same on the bottom, that's kind of a sketchy one, but it's a rule. The one you're probably more comfortable with doing is going 1/2 times 2 over root 3, multiplying the reciprocal. Then you see that the 2's cancel out, and the answer is 1 over root 3. So tangent was just a little bit more complex to deal with, but it's pretty straightforward. Now, cosecant, see if I can fit it down here. Cosecant of 30 degrees is 1 over y, which is 1/2. So 1 divided by 1/2. Once again, really weird to look at it like that. So we could go 1 divided by 1/2. And again, because it's divided by a fraction, you can just switch it to multiplying by a reciprocal. So 1 times 2 over 1, which becomes 2. So cosecant of 30 degrees is actually 2. Next, we have secant. So I'll just put secant over here. Secant of theta is equal to 1 over x, which is root 3 over 2, which looks weird because now you've got a stack. So I'll make it 1 divided by root 3 over 2, and you can see that it should be 1 times 2 over root 3, which gives me 2 over root 3 as my final answer. Now, the last one is cotan. Sorry, this was supposed to be secant 30. Cotan 30 is going to be x over y. So I'm not going to write it that way though. I'm going to write it root 3 over 2 times, and I'm just flipping it right away, 2 over 1. So it's going to be root 3 over 1 or just root 3. So one last little adjustment to make, and that's that this is in quadrant 2. And I just want to remind you that in quadrant 2 you have negative x and positive y. So anything with a negative x in it is going to be a negative. So you can go through this and do it before, or you can do it afterwards. It doesn't really matter. Just make sure that you're addressing the negative at some point. So when I go through here, this was y, don't care, it's positive. This was x, so this is going to be negative root 3 over 2. 10 is actually going to be negative in that quadrant as well. And I actually encourage you to mark this out on your sheets. You could do something as simple as just do sine cos 10, positive, positive, positive for this quadrant, sine cos 10, sine is positive, cos is negative, tan is negative for this quadrant. So you'll need to make sure that your 10 is also a negative value. Just to continue with that, this one would have tan is positive, sine and cos are both negative. Negative over negative equals a positive, which is why tan is positive. For this one, we'd have sine, cos, and tan. Sine is now negative, cos is positive because x is positive, and tan would be negative because negative over a positive is a negative. So kind of keeping track of what they should be in each quadrant helps you to make sure that you've got the right values assigned here. So we've gone through and we've got negative cos, negative tan. Cosecant deals with sine, so it's fine as being positive. Secant deals with cos, so it should be negative. So we'll just make it negative. And again, cotan deals with tan, which is negative. So it's going to be a negative root 3. Now the last thing I want to draw to your attention is, I said these things were reciprocals. And we can check, now that we've put the values in, and compare them. So I have 1/2 and 2. 2 is 2 over 1, so 1 over 2, 2 over 1, they're just flipped. Cosine, negative 3, or root 3 over 2, is the flip of secant, and it's negative 2 over root 3. Notice that the negatives aren't opposites. They're the same. It's just the fraction that's flipped upside down. And for the last one, tan is negative 1 over root 3. Cotan is negative root 3, and it could be negative root 3 over 1. It means the same thing. So they are the reciprocals of each other.